Hello people, how have you been? I am Prajakta and welcome back to my channel Dancing Bibliophile. If you have watched my last video, you might know that I managed to read 21 books in the month of May. And if you're wondering what am I talking about, check out my last video here or from the link in the description box below. So in the last video, which was the part 1 of my May reading wrap-up, I shared 11 books, and in today's video, which is the part 2, I'll be sharing about the remaining 10 books which I read in the month of May. But before we move ahead, please make sure that you have subscribed to my channel and hit the notifications bell so as to get notified every time I post a new video. So without further ado, let's get started. Those who have been here before might already know how much I love reading Ruskin books. I have made a separate video where I recommend books written by him, and you can check that video here or from the link in the description box below after you have finished watching this video. So in the month of May, I read 3 books written by Ruskin Bond. First of which was All Roads Lead to Ganga. This book contains stories narrating Ruskin Bond's travel experiences in and around Uttarakhand, specifically around the river Ganga. His writing is simple yet beautifully descriptive, which made me feel as if I was traveling with him in the Himalayas. The usual charm of his stories is clearly evident and makes the overall reading experience delightful. The second book which I read in May, written by Ruskin Bond, was All Creatures Great and Small. This book has fascinating stories about birds and animals, may it be a monkey, a python, or an owl. They showcase the relationship between humans and animals in a very entertaining way. Though I had read some of the stories in other Ruskin Bond story collections, rereading Ruskin Bond stories always makes me happy. The third book written by Ruskin Bond, which I read in the month of May, was Friends of My Youth. This collection talks about how our circumstances or how the people we meet shape our behavior and our overall personality. These are the stories of how unknowingly friends are found and how they help us eliminate our loneliness. These tales are sure to make you remember your childhood memories. The 15th book which I read in the month of May was The Best We Could Do by Thi Bui. I had not read any book which talk about the Vietnam War, which made reading this graphical memoir both informative as well as heartbreaking. This is a story of Thi Bui's family and their past when they used to live in Vietnam, and how they had to flee from their homelands because of the increasing unrest due to the war. The hardships faced by the Vietnamese were so disheartening, yet the way Thi Bui has depicted them in this memoir makes them less triggering. This is an excellent first-hand narrative of the Vietnam War, which makes for a great start for reading about it. The next book was Land of the Seven Rivers by Sanjeev Sanyal. I love reading about history and geography, especially when it is related to the Indian subcontinent, which made me particularly interested in reading this book. In this book, Sanjeev Sanyal tries to connect various events described in the scriptures as well as historical books to the present day geographical elements such as the rivers, the mountains, and the cities. He has made an attempt of giving a comprehensive account of why various historical events took place and how they affected the Indian subcontinent at large. You're surely going to love this book thoroughly if you are a history enthusiast just like me. The next book which I read was The Ghost Stories of Shimla Hills. This is a compilation of the supernatural events of the spirits from the hills of Shimla. Meenakshi Chaudhary has collected these stories from the residents of Shimla Hills themselves. The stories are not really frightening, but they certainly have an intrigue to them which make it a bit chilling at times. This is a great pick for those who don't venture into the horror genre often. The next one is The Stationery Shop of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. I read this book for the Asian Readathon organized by Cindy from With Cindy. As the title suggests, the story majorly takes place in Tehran, which is the capital city of Iran, and is the story of Roya and Bahman and the people around him. Things grow difficult both in Iran and in Roya's life, which results in her leaving the country and shifting to US. She builds a different life for herself in the US, but her past confronts her as Bahman reappears after 60 long years. Roya is desperate to seek answers about Bahman's actions all those years ago and decides to confront him. This is a book that explores the concepts of love and loss, and the ending is unforgettable, complete, pure, and brings the story to a full circle. I hardly read romances, but this one is really good. This is the first book which I have read which is a historical fiction as well as a romance and fits both the genres perfectly. The next one was Taxiwala and Other Stories by Numair Atif Chaudhary, who was a Bangladeshi writer famous for his novel Babu Bangladesh. This is a collection of stories that talk about Dhaka and the people living around its suburbs from an outsider's point of view. The stories are intense and thought-provoking, and the author's style is raw and it shows a mirror to the world. Overall, a fantastic collection of short stories. The next book which I read was another Agatha Christie mystery, but this time featuring Miss Marple. They Do It With Mirrors takes place at a juvenile rehabilitation center ran by Miss Marple's friend, Carrie Louise. After the slow build-up, the stories seemed rushed in towards the end. I usually like Hercule Poirot mysteries, but this had its own charm. Definitely not the best one by Agatha Christie, but it surely has all the elements to make it into a quick mystery read. The last book for the month of May was The King's Harvest by Chetan Raj Shrestha. This book contains two novellas, An Open and Shut Case and The King's Harvest, set in the northeastern state of Sikkim. In An Open and Shut Case, Kamla whacks her husband and cuts him into 47 pieces and later turns herself in at the nearest police station. Though it looks like a straightforward case, Dechen, who is the lady investigator, discovers various secrets, making it into a dark tale. In the titular novella, The King's Harvest, a farmer tells his story to his children and sets out to meet the king after living in isolation for around 3 decades. Circumstances have changed drastically and he is in for a surprise on his visit to Gangtok. A beautiful book which describes the captivating beauty of Sikkim delicately. And those were all the books which I read in the month of May. If you haven't watched the part 1 of May reading wrap-up yet, you can do so by clicking the link in the description box below. And if you have liked this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe to Dancing Bibliophile. Until next time, keep reading. Bye-bye.